Good morning. I'm doing all this situating. So I am doing recording in my apartment and that's exact well, anyway, I can't get it out. I was trying to get the green screen out, but it is what it is. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world watching this. Hopefully, you will start to join me in the mornings because we are here live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. So, wherever you are in the world, would love for you to tune in because this is getting intentional about our days. And this week, we are talking about intentionality. And so, this background is so bizarre to me. But anyway, there's my apartment. So I have this big green screen here, which looks really cool with Zoom. But when I go on YouTube, I can't do a cool background or anything. Maybe I have to play around with it. So we're talking about intentionality. And yesterday first, if you would subscribe and if you would share this, that would mean the world to me because that's what this is all about. We want to set a foundation for people in the morning to tap into, to understand, the power of their mind and to go out there and just feel ready to hit the day, to become intentional about their lives and their minds. And so if you would like and subscribe this, and that will help the algorithm so that this can grow and we can help others become the most powerful versions of themselves. So, with that said, how do we want our lives to look? And that's exactly what we're talking about here. And that's visualizing our intentionality. So today I just want to go on a visual exercise with you. That's what this is all about. So ignore the fact that my shirt looks like the green screen. In fact, at first I had it in front and then I was like, that's green on green. So I've been modifying. But think about, how do you want your life to look? Have you ever gone to a financial planner and they say, okay, well, when you retire, what do you want your life to look like? And they ask you this because there's so many different factors that go into planning for your retirement. If you say, I want a $4,000 or 4,000 square foot flat in the middle of New York City versus that I pay month to month versus I own my home in Nebraska, you're going to get two very different budgets when you retire. Even if you come to Texas, where Texas is that, so I'm in Dallas, Texas, and the cost of living is raising, but it is still lower than, let's say, Manhattan. But our taxes are like, psh, because we don't have state income tax. So if you own a home, let's say you own a $400,000 home, you can pay about $10,000 in taxes a year. That's what it comes down to about. So that's almost $1,000 a month. So my point is, depending on where you are, what you want as part of your life, your financial advisor is going to ask you things like, what do you want your life to look like? What kind of expenses? Are you going to be traveling a lot? Do you plan on going out and spending a lot of money every month? Are you buying new wardrobes all the time? What is going to consume cost in your space? Or do you plan on just having a very, humble lifestyle? And I don't know if humble is the right word that I want to use, but do you imagine yourself just in a little small town and not spending a lot of money, not traveling, but just kind of staying where you're at, owning your home and in a place that has affordable taxes? And that's going to weigh a big factor into what your financial advisor, what the plan he or she comes up with for you. So you may need millions of dollars or you might not, just depending on what you imagine your life to be. And it's really important to get clear on these things early on so that you can plan appropriately. If you decide that you want a minimal lifestyle, you really don't need to save very much, you plan on working until you're 90, and then when you're 70, you're like, you know what? I want to retire, and you've not saved any money and you decide that you want this lavish lifestyle it might be harder to achieve because of your age and just different factors. And so getting clear now and starting to plan is really important. So I just want to put that exercise because that's something that if you don't have a financial advisor, I would encourage you to seek one out because I think that's very important for all of us in this world to have someone that we can talk to and talk through these plans, just so that we're prepared at the latter stages of our life. But same with how do we want our life to look like? Well, we need to get really clear. And it's not just, okay, when I retire, I want it to look like this. Yes, let's start there. Let's say, okay, how do we want it to look? But you might say, you know what? I'm 30 years old. I'm 40 years old. Like, I don't know. I don't plan on retiring for a while. I might have some ideas, but I'm not sure all of the details. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. And you know what? Even if you have something in mind now, it may change. I know I thought about different things when I don't know why this came into my mind, but one of my girlfriends, she made the comment when we were younger. She was like, "Whatever, I'm never going to get old. I'm going to be 50 years old in the club." I remember she said this, and we may have been 18 or something like that. I don't know. But she's like, "Yeah, I'll be 50 in the club." I was teasing her about this not too long ago. She was like, "Oh yeah, no, that's not happening. We're not doing that." So your idea when you're younger may change when you're older just because your maturity changes or the circumstances change. And that's okay. It's okay to adapt and be like, "Yeah, that was kind of silly." Or you might think, yes, when I retire, I want to be in downtown Manhattan and I want to live in this big flat. And then you think, you know what? I actually can't take people anymore. I've had enough people throughout my entire life. I want to go get a ranch in Fort Worth. That's where I want to be. So, and it's okay. It's okay for you to have these changes in your life. But it's important that we get intentional about visualizing what it looks like. When I was in my workout class last week, and I talked about this on the show last week, but the lady that runs the class, Alexis, she said, "How do you want your body to look?" And visualize that. And that was so important because we need to think about what do we want our bodies to look like? So think about our future. What do we want that to look like? And then start to look at different areas within your life. And it's so important for us to know where we're driving to so that we can get there. Because all we need to know is our starting point and the end point, and then we can start to fill in the middle. So think about your body. How do you want your body to look? And we're getting into the summertime here in Dallas, Texas, and there's a lot of people that are hanging out by the pool. And, so she's given us great visualizations like how do you want it to look when you're out by the pool? How do you want it to look when you're moving around? How do you want? And so think about these things as you are imagining what your life looks like, and we're getting intentional because that's what this is. We are building your life. When you leave here today, I want you to be like, boom, this is what I'm doing, or at least start thinking about it. That's all it is. It's just a thinking exercise. So how do you want your body to look? Is it strong? When I used to do bodybuilding competitions, so when I first started working out, I thought you just had arms. Like you work out arms, you work out legs and abs. I thought you had 3 body parts. Turns out you have a lot more body parts than that. Like people are like, I'm working out my biceps, my tris, my traps, and there's like all these pieces of the arm. But to me, you just had an arm. I didn't realize that there were all these different muscles. I mean, I did, but I never really thought about it and connected all those dots. And I say this because as we are going through and putting our bodies together, how do we want it to look? And it's not just arm. If you want this to be bigger, if you want this to be bigger, if you want a line right here, then there are certain muscles that you need to work out. It doesn't just happen because you drop calories out of your routine or because you start running. If you want a certain look, a certain feel, a certain tone, then you have to target specific muscles. But if you don't know what you're going for and all you do is work out your traps, then you're not going to have the defined arms. You're not going to have the abs. You're not going to have the legs, but you're going to have like massive traps. So you have to even it. You have to balance it. It's a whole ecosystem that you are. So, how do you want your body to look? How do you want it to feel? When you wake up in the morning, does it move the way you want it to? I know my body in the morning is a little cranky. It's like, oh, okay. And I got to work the kinks out. But in general, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. I'm sure that there's areas that I can improve, but I look the way that I want to look. Now, I know I've got like 5, 10 pounds I'd like to lose, and that's okay. I'm working towards that, but I know where I'm at. I know where I'd like to be, and I can get there. I can close that gap. Have you ever thought about how you want your mind to look? This is real powerful. Stay with me here. Your mind, you can decide how that looks. And I talk about suffering in a beautiful state a lot. And so suffering is fear, frustration, anxiety, resentment, embarrassment, boredom, all of these states that you just don't feel good in. Anytime that you're like, oh, I don't feel good. Gossip is over there. Yeah. Yeah. These just like you just aren't feeling good. And let's take sadness out of that because I don't like to talk about sadness with all of these other things, but just where you aren't feeling good. Yeah, your boss has given you all this work and you're the only one in the office till 9 p.m. and you're resenting him, you're angry, you have some hatred going on. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. And then there's this beautiful state, and that's where we have peace and happiness and clarity, and we're in flow. And this is where we want to be. This is where we want to be. We don't want to be anxious and fearful, and it doesn't feel good when we're in flow and we're like, this is what I'm designed to do with my life. This is how I'm supposed to be. I'm happy. I'm all the things. Like, this is where we want to strive to be up here. And that's in your mind. So, how do you want your mind to look? Does it have a lot of this jumble happening around? Or have you made the decision that you want it to be a clear mind? And that's what it is. It's a decision, it's a choice. All of these things are choices that we make. We choose to go to the gym and lose weight. We choose to save towards our retirement. We choose to get a different job, change careers, have a family, date someone, find friends, where we live. All these things are choices that we make. And so often we forget that we have a choice in the mind, and that dictates everything. Our mind is everything. So, how do you want your mind to look? Just think about that. Just take a pause and think, my mind, how do I want it to be? Peaceful, happy, stressed out? And start walking yourself. Just think about how like what you've been experiencing recently and say, is this serving me? Is the way that my mind is wired right now, because our minds are wired in a certain way. And if you start thinking about negative things, then guess what? You start thinking about more negative things. But you can change, you can rewire your brain and the neuroplasticity and for it to all of a sudden, wow, you start thinking positively. But it's an exercise, just like when you're going to the gym and you're like, wow, there's my muscles, I've got abs, I've got arms. Just as you start to work those out, you can work your mind out in a different way as well. And wow, all of a sudden you're more positive. But it's something that you have to make a choice on. Because what I found is that when we just let our minds run amok, our brain, they do these things that you're like, why? Why are we so negative? And it's, the brain wants to keep you safe. It does. It wants to keep you from the unknown, which is scary. And so it tells you things to keep you safe. Like, this is all you know, this is all you have. And maybe it puts you into a state of lack. Oh, whatever that may be for you. And so we have to decide, Do we want our minds to just keep us safe and keep us playing small and tell us things like that's a bad idea because you're going to get hurt and you can't do this because you've never done it before and you shouldn't go after that person because they're going to say no. It's safer for you to just be alone because then there's no rejection. See, these are the tricks that our minds can play on us. Or do we say, you know what? Without risk, there's no reward. And we have to become vulnerable. And you know what? I have all of this proof as to why I can do this because I've done these things in the past. And you know what? It's okay if it doesn't work out the way that I think that it's going to, because in the end, it's all going to work out because I'm going to have lessons, I'm going to have course corrections, and I'm going to be okay. Life is going to be okay regardless of whatever happens. See, that's when you have control over your mind. When your mind has control, it's like, nope, nope, don't do it. Don't do it. So think about how you want your mind to look. Are you happening to life or is life happening to you? Are you controlling your mind or is it controlling you? And I think most of us want that freedom. We want the freedom to be able to do, to be anything that we want to be. It's such a beautiful state to be in. That's why becoming intentional is so extremely important. So we're thinking about what are our long-term goals. We've thought about what do we want our body to look like? What do we want our mind to look like? What do we want our day-to-day to look like? Think about this. Just because your life looks a certain way now doesn't mean that that's the way that makes best sense. And I know you've probably got a ton of things going on. But are there things that you can outsource? Are there things that you can share the load with somebody else? Are there things that you can push back and say, no, I don't have time to do that? Maybe things that you can eliminate from your schedule. I don't know. I don't know what your situation is. And there's like a million variables and what that looks like. But if you are not happy with how your day to day looks like, then take a serious look, right? I would suggest write everything down. These are the things that I do every single day. And if you can time box them, like maybe your life is that structured and you say, okay, you know what? I wake up here and then this is breakfast and work and kids and husband and whatever that may be. But start to put all these things down and say, okay, if this is what my life is now, think really just long and hard about what do you want your life to look like? Okay. Do you want more time in your day? All right. What do we need to do to get there? And I will tell you this, and not just because I'm a coach, but getting a coach absolutely helps you because then you can start to get ideas and oh maybe you didn't see something because you were too close to it and your coach can help give you suggestions and you two can talk through it. 100% a coach is going to help you save time in your life because you're going to be able to see it through a different lens, just a third party lens. And so I always recommend having a coach to help you with this. But know where you are and say, okay, where do I want to be? And start to look and say, okay, what are the different changes that I can make in order to get there? What can I outsource? Who can I engage to help me? Are there things that I can eliminate? So, your long-term goals, your short-term goals, your body, your mind, you have control over all of this. You do. And yes, you may run into things along the way and it's like, "Oh, okay, I tried that. I guess that's not going to happen for me." And that's okay. That's all right. We don't have it's not a magic, 8 ball where it just tells you all the things or like that snow globe we talked about yesterday where it's like whoosh, and we look and we say, "Oh, okay, there's the life happening." We don't have all of the answers, but we've got to have something that we're driving towards. Remember what Zig Ziglar says? He says, when you aim at nothing, you hit your target every time. And the truth is, yeah, we live life once. And the thing that scares me the most isn't about trying and something not working out the way that I think that it's going to. It's being 80 years old and saying, what if? What if? What if? So today I just want you to visualize what your life is going to look like, your body, your mind, your retirement, and just put some things down on paper. That's what vision boards are all about. Vision boards are so key. Maybe we'll talk about them tomorrow and I'll show you what my vision board from last year or maybe this year looks like because they are so incredibly powerful. So we are at the top of our time. So we are going to wrap this up, but think about it. How do you want to show up today? You want to show up powerfully? You want to show up strong with intent? How do you want to show up? How you want that body to look like? How you want that mind to look like? How you want that outfit to look like? I'm going to talk about that more later on in the week. How our clothes. Yeah, we're going to talk about clothes later on in the week. How we want to feel. Be intentional about our feelings. Yep. It's our mind, body, soul. We got this. All right. I'll see you ladies tomorrow. We're coming up. We want the world to know we're gonna let it show. That's right. We're coming up. We want the world to know we're gonna let it show that we're gonna be intentional about our lives. Yeah, okay. Whatever, Jen. I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.